Hi log cabin lovers. I was just digging around in my shop and I thought, you know, this might be a good time to talk a little bit about some of the tools that you use in building a log cabin and how you care for them. I found this axe in my garage and I thought, geez, that's a nice heavy single bitted axe. I think I could fix it up and use it at the cabin. So I'm going to kind of cheat here and clamp it in a vise. And I'm just going to clean the edge up a little bit. It wasn't in too bad a shape, but I got a flap sander. You could use a grinder, and I just want to get the shape of it a little bit. Okay, I just got it down so there's no big dings or chips or anything in it. So now I want to take it inside and show you the real steps in sharpening the axe. Okay, I took that flap sander out there, which is a great tool if you have an angle head grinder. They're about $6 or $7 like at Ace Hardware. I found a dozen of them online for about $2 a piece. It was quite a good deal. Anyway, I ground the shape of the axe down a little bit and just put a bevel on it. But one of the things I wanted to show you is this is a falling axe, the big one, and the other one is more of a splitting axe. And I don't know if you can see the difference in the angles, but that falling axe has a mean, wicked, narrow cutting edge that will really penetrate crosswise into the wood when you're chopping with it. And I'm fixing this one up because I'm going to do that log hewing demonstration down at the cabin, and I thought, boy, that should work very well. This blade, now that I've cleaned it up a little bit, I'm going to put it in clamp it down to a bench. I could put it out there in the vise, but I thought I'm trying to do these videos for you folks that have just not as maybe limited amount of experience doing some of this stuff. And I think one of the biggest things that is an art that's lost is how to use a file. And this axe right now would be fine for splitting wood, but I want to take and show you how to put a really good edge on it quickly. And a lot of the shows you see on sharpening an axe, my God, they make it like it's black magic and it takes some special thing to sharpen an axe. I got a single cut file. I don't know if you can see it. It's an odd. Buy them at garage sales for about $1 a piece. You can kind of feel them, and if they grab your fingernail pretty good, you can tell it's still got some sharpness, and the cutting edges aren't all shiny. To make filing better, and so it doesn't clog up, if you take a piece of soapstone or just blackboard chalk and load the teeth with that material, it doesn't clog as fast. Then this is the edge I just used on, oh, the cat wants to come in and be part of the video. The edge has been polished up with that flap sander, but it's not really sharp. Draw filing, when you first start, you think, oh, this isn't going to work very good. The thing jumps around and it doesn't really bite. But if that's the problem, you can go a little bit like this to get rid of some of the high bumps from the grinder. Then when you start working with the draw file, you'll feel the file biting into the metal, not only sharpening it, but it's making it a real uniform edge. And you can see out in the middle, I'm getting down, the whole bevel is from the full edge, but out here on the end, there's I ground a low spot, or there was a low spot. This end isn't on the same plane as that. But in just a few minutes with the draw file, and if the thing starts to jump, then you can just take and tap it, and it'll knock some of the chips out. Or if you have a regular file card, like a wire brush, you can wire brush it and it'll take the grit out of it. Okay. just a little bit more here for the sake of the demonstration. Okay. Now, yeah, now I can feel it biting the whole length of the cut. And if everything's going just right, it's a really fast way of getting rid of the metal. You can feel the file just ripping off the metal. If you look on the floor down here, if that shows up, you'll see all the pile of filing. Now, it doesn't have to be this big a file. It could be a smaller file. I just happened to grab this one. I'm probably going to use this axe as a firewood axe for splitting wood. Being it's got a sharper bevel, it would be better for splitting than for limbing or cross-cutting into the log. So now I'm going to make this thing awful sharp, and you got to be careful when you're out in the woods who's using your axe, because when you make it really sharp, like this one is just scary sharp, when you're using it, if you're not careful and you chop yourself, you don't need to worry about getting stitches. You're going to need to worry about getting a prosthesis to replace the limb that you chopped off. So this one is almost sharp enough to shave with. This one, I don't think I'm going to get that excited about it, because I get some friends coming down and use the cabin, and some of them are a little bit challenged when it comes to using an axe, and I really don't want to pay for a prosthetic thumb or a finger or a shin bone. There. This side is all down nice. I got a couple nicks in this far end. Now this is actual time. I'm not cutting a bunch of time out of this thing. This is but just about actual filing time. Okay, another thing, when I run my hand under here, oh, maybe you can see it. A little shiny edge come up right here. What that means is I've completely brought the blade to a point, and that, being the file leaves a rough cut, that's that little rough surface. It's called a whisker, and there's a little whisker on there, and you can feel it with your fingernail. And this one they bend up. I hope you can see it shining in the video. Okay, now what we're ready to do, I've already done the other side of the axe. What we're going to do is I'm going to start with, I got, this is wet and dry paper, metalworking paper, 120, 180, 220, and 320. And I'm going to wrap them, for the sake of the demonstration, I'm going to wrap them on a file. I have taken some of these and bought some spray adhesive and cut this into strips and glued it on pieces of metal and kind of made files, and it lasts longer. Okay, now you want to, when you start using sandpaper, go the opposite direction, like I draw filed it lengthwise, so now I'm kind of going crosswise so I can see the scratches, and I can see them kind of disappearing. So you'd stay with this 120 until the file marks are gone, and that's the secret to using abrasive materials, is always, even if you're doing woodworking, you stay with one grit until the scars from the last grit are gone. If you don't, the next grit's going to take you 10 times longer to get rid of those marks that you should have gotten rid of in the first place. So it doesn't take a very long time. I would guess if I did this for a minute with this grit, they would be all gone. I don't have my face right down there in it, but I don't see any file marks in it anymore. There's this one little divot right there that I'm not taking out, and for the sake of this video, I'm not going to take the time to take it out. And again, I'm going to use it for a firewood splitting, and that isn't going to affect anything. Okay, now, so I went crosswise, and I would turn the thing over and do the other side with that 120, and now I'm going to go with 180, And I'm going to go lengthwise with this one because the last time I kind of went crosswise. And so I can see the surface really good in the scratches. And little scratches that the 120 put in are coming out very quickly. I draw filed earlier and I really got all the nicks out on this side. Okay, this is back to that 120. And I'm going to go crosswise because the file marks are lengthwise. And if you could see on the camera, you'd see that the file marks are going away, at least on the last 1/8 inch of the cutting edge. There's a few little divots in there that were deeper from that flap sander. And I guess if you really were diligent, you could make the whole cutting edge here just gleam and be polished. But it doesn't take that long, okay? This is the 180 again. And I can go lengthwise with it. Okay, now I'm going to feel that edge, and oh yeah, there's a little bit of a whisker. A lot of it was worn off because by going with the finer grits, it works that little whisker back and forth, and it falls off, and it leaves the perfect angle behind. Okay, this is 220, and 220 is still fairly coarse. You can really feel it biting. And I think I'm just going to do 220 on this thing, turn it over and do 220 and call it good. You could go to 320, you could go to 400. You could, oh, look at here. There's I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a big, that whisker of metal is right here. That by working the metal down, that little fuzzy edge just fell off. So you know you're getting close when those little whiskers come off. Okay, that's 220. This is going to be 220 on this side, and I'll probably call it good. Let's see the time. Yeah, I don't think I've been doing this for 10 minutes even, the whole process. So, other than fiddling around changing the camera. Okay. There's a tiny whisker on there yet. And you turn it back over one more time. And hit that a little bit. That's back on the other side now. Okay, now, I don't know how well that's going to show, but that's a pretty darn good cutting edge in a very short period of time, and very smooth, and it'll cut very good. Again, you can compare the two and see that the falling axe, the big axe, the double-bitted one, really has a narrow cutting edge, and when you're swinging that son of a gun, it'll penetrate into cross grain much better. This one would be better for splitting, limbing, things like that. Well, that's all I'm going to do on that. I just wanted you to see how axes can be easily sharpened, and go out and do some draw filing. It's rewarding, and you can remove a lot of metal, and it makes a very uniform edge. And it's just kind of a lost art that on any of the YouTubes I look at, I seldom see anybody draw filing. And an old German fellow showed me how to do it, and it's always been a lifesaver for me. So thanks for watching.